Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Glad you could be here. Today we are doing my February wrap-up and my March TBR. Let's go. So as far as February goes, I kind of overpromised and underdelivered. And I don't know if it was the fact that it was a shorter month or I just wasn't feeling it for certain days out of the month, just got in a reading funk, what have you. It's probably really a combination of those things, but I definitely could have used a few more days in February. And yeah, that's not the way the calendar works out, right? So I didn't do horrible though. So we're gonna get to my February wrap up, and then we'll talk about what I've got going on for March. So the first book that I want to talk about from February that I did finish is The Girl in the Tower. It is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. This is just a phenomenal series, guys. I'm thoroughly enjoying my experience reading it, and in my opinion, The Girl in the Tower was just as good, if not a little bit better, than The Bear and the Nightingale. And that's really saying something, because The Bear and the Nightingale was a fantastic read. And I'm not going to do a review for each individual book. I did the review for The Girl in the Tower, but I'm going to wait until I finish the series, and then I'll do an encapsulated review of all three books, kind of a why you should read. It just so happened that it worked out that I was participating in February She Wrote. This is a book extravaganza for the month of February, where you read authors that use she, her pronouns. So it just worked out that I was planning on reading The Girl in the Tower anyway, and I'm glad I was, because I get to draw attention to a phenomenal female author. So I highly recommend you check out the Winter Night trilogy if you have not already. It is phenomenal. Now, I also read The Hand of Chaos by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman, and I actually counted Margaret Weis as a female author for the month as well. And I can't say enough good about this series, guys. Haplo as a main character just continues to grow and blossom and really become this fascinating, nuanced character that you kind of don't expect reading the first book. You may think, oh, well, this guy's just this really one-sided character, not much to him, but you have to give the series its full experience before you make a judgment call on Haplo, because he's just a phenomenal character. I read the first 4 books in the series, and then and each of those books kind of stands on its own, but it's a piece to a puzzle. And then in books 5 through 7, that's where Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman wrap up the different loose ends from the first 4 books. So when you get to this book, you're starting to see a lot of pieces from the other books being incorporated into this one story. Now, I had initially planned to do a review for each book in the Deathgate cycle, but I decided not to do that for the last 3 books, because it is going to end up spoiling so much of what was in the original 4 books, and I really don't want to do that. I don't really see a way around it, and so I'm just going to tell you right now, I love the book. I can't wait to read the final 2 books in the series, and you'll have to wait and see my why you should read video for the Deathgate cycle at this point. So, and as far as February She Wrote goes, Ben from Literature and Lo-Fi was the sponsor of this month-long series. You really want to check his channel out. He's done a lot of videos related to February She Wrote this month, so definitely check those out, but check out the rest of his stuff as well. He's phenomenal. I will leave a link in the description below so that you can check out his channel, okay? So yeah, there is The Hand of Chaos. The next book I read is Men at Arms. It is the second book in the Guards sub-series, which is part of Discworld as a whole, written by Terry Pratchett. And I just had a great time, guys. I love these characters. I continue to love them and just enjoy watching their humorous antics and seeing how their lives change as a result of being members of the Watch. And one of my favorite characters still is Corporal Carrot. He is just absolutely hilarious, and so many of the other characters are too. Captain Vimes is such a great character, and he grows so much in this book as well. And I will say I didn't like Men at Arms as much as I did Guards, but I still liked it quite a bit, and I can't wait to see where the Guards series goes. So I will be continuing that. So next, I'll talk about Wolves of the Kala. This was a carryover from the month of January. I didn't quite finish it in January, so I brought it over into February, and I did finish it within about the first week of February. And I just am loving the Dark Tower series, guys. You hear me talk about it over and over again. I know I'm a broken record, but I love the Dark Tower. And if you have not read the Dark Tower, you are sorely missing out on some really good stuff. I will leave a link in the cards at the end and in the description below to my video review for Wolves of the Kala. The Dark Tower series is one of those series that I am doing a review on each book, because while they are all connected to each other character-wise and things like that, there is enough of a uniqueness to each story in the Dark Tower that I don't feel like I'm going to be spoiling anything horribly for anyone by talking briefly about certain things about the books. So I did do a review for Wolves of the Kala, and you can check that out. Okay, enough of me gushing. The final book that I finished in February was Heaven's River. This is the final book, at least so far, in the Bobiverse series by Dennis E. Taylor. And I've been doing the audiobook, so it's narrated by Ray Porter, who is a phenomenal narrator. I mean, he is just really, really great. I will say that Heaven's River is not my favorite of the books. It was not nearly as good as the other three books in the series, but it was still very, very good, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of good, cheeky, geeky humor all throughout the book, and there is plenty of pop culture references, especially if you're a science fiction nerd. There's lots of science fiction references to be had in this book series, so you really should check out the Bobiverse. And I probably will do a video talking about the series so far at some point. I'm going to get back together with my friends Carl and Pete. We're going to talk about Heaven's River and what we thought about the book, and they've kind of been doing a reread of it as I've been reading it for the first time, or listening to it. So it's just been super fun, guys. The Bobiverse is such a great series. Highly recommend it. So let's talk about what I did not finish in February. I told you I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. And the first book I want to talk about is Dead House Gates, the second book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. It's taken me a long time to get through that book, not because it's slow, or at least not slow in a bad way. It's slow in a good way, meaning that there's a lot of information you want to take in. And, you know, I went through some reading slumps and different things like that, you know, days where I just didn't want to read. And I tend to be one to cut myself slack on that, guys. So with those things considered, I still did not finish Dead House Gates in February. So I am going to carry that over into March, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. The other book that I said I was hoping to finish in February, but I did not even touch in February, is Fire and Blood by George R. R. Martin. I'm not disliking it by any means. In fact, I absolutely love it. I just did not have a chance to get to it, guys. We still don't know when House of the Dragon is going to be released on HBO. And House of the Dragon is based on sections out of Fire and Blood. So I don't feel like I'm in a huge rush to finish it. But maybe once we get a release date for the show, that'll kind of kick me in the butt. But I am hoping to continue each month reading sections of Fire and Blood to where I eventually finish the book. So that will happen soon, but not really soon. Okay? So let's talk about my March TBR. And again, I use TBR in the very loosest of definitions because as a mood reader, I may not get to all the books that I plan to read. So, we are going to start with the fact that I am going to take a break from Malazan in the month of March, with the exception of finishing Dead House Gates, of course. But I am going to take a break. I'm not going to pick up Memories of Ice in March. I had originally planned to, but I decided not to. I think I'm going to put it off till April. I've got some travel plans coming up the end of March. So I don't want to really bog myself down with super heavy books for the month of March. So I'm going to take a break from Malazan with the exception of finishing Dead House Gates. I am also going to start Winter of the Witch. It is the third book in the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. I am so excited to read the conclusion to this book series, guys. I can't tell you how much I'm loving it. Well, I already told you before, so I'm not going to go into it. But suffice it to say, I need to finish the series and see how it ends. The next one I'm going to read is Sandman Overture. Sandman Overture is a prequel to the original Sandman arc. I believe Neil Gaiman wrote it about 10 years after the original arc had been completed. So it picks up with the story of Morpheus, aka Dream, aka the Sandman, prior to the events of the original arc. So that will complete the entire big picture of the first Sandman series for me. And I can't wait to see where Sandman Overture goes. I absolutely love the rest of the series. And once I finish the series, I am planning to do an overall recap of the series. Again, kind of why you should read the Sandman series if you have not already. And this is going to be perfect timing for me because I'm sure we're going to get a release date announced any day now for when Sandman is coming to Netflix. It's in post-production, I believe, and so it's just a matter of time before it gets a release date. I'm so excited. I can't wait. So I will finally have completed the Sandman series. And the next book I'm going to pick up is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is the first book in the Murderbot series. And I am going to be picking this up through my Kindle Unlimited subscription. I've heard mixed things about Murderbot. Some people really like it, some people don't. Some people are just kind of in the middle with it. And I figure, I'm paying for Kindle Unlimited. I might as well just borrow it. And that way, if I don't like it, it's not going to be a permanent fixture on my Kindle, right? So I'm going to be checking that out. But I've been super excited to check out the Murderbot series. The next book I'm going to pick up is Gurzel by I Anonymous. My understanding of this book is it is a historical fiction retelling of some of the stories of King Arthur, but with the exception of a dragon being front and center in the story. So it does have an actual dragon, so it's got some minimal fantasy elements to it. And I'll be honest, I was kind of skeptical at first because I read The Winter King back in December, which is the first book in the Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. And it was okay, but it really didn't feel like it was my cup of tea necessarily. So the author saw my review of The Winter King, and he's like, hey, I think you would really like my book. And he sent me a copy of his book for free in exchange for an honest review. So I figured, okay, I'll check it out. I'll read it, see what I think of it. So that is on my list for March as well. And another book I'm going to read in the month of March is Death Masks by Jim Butcher. This is book 5 in the Dresden Files series. And it's been ages since I read Summer Night, although I do remember most of the stuff about it, so I'm not going to go back and reread it. But I'm finally getting back into the world of the Dresden Files, and I'm sure I'll just absolutely love the ride. I've heard that this is where the Dresden Files really kind of kicks into gear for the rest of the series. So I can't wait to get back into this series, and hopefully I'm going to keep it up pretty regularly. But, you know, we'll see. There's like 18, 19 books in the series at least. So I probably won't finish it all this year, but I'm excited to have some more fun with it. Now there's 2 books that I'm going to do my best to get to, but again, I'm not pushing myself. The first one, which is a priority for me, is The Song of Susanna, Book 6 in the Dark Tower series. I'm so close, guys. I'm almost done with Dark Tower. And so if I have any time left over at the end of March, at a minimum, I want to start Song of Susanna. So I'll let you know once the time arrives for my next wrap up, and we'll see if I completed it. You know, I will do a review for it when I finish that book. And then the final book that is on my list for March, and this is a big if. You know, it's a big maybe, but I've really been wanting to start The Banished Lands by John Gwynne, and I'm hoping to pick up Malice, the first book in that series. We'll see how things go, but you know, that's the plan anyway. So let me know what you think in the comments below of some of my goals for March and also my wrap up for February. Hit me in the comments with any questions or comments that you might have on any of these books. And before you go away, don't go anywhere. I've got a couple of things to tell you. Don't stay right where you are. I see you going to the pause button. Don't do it. Hold on. You may have seen that I had my first episode of Chasm Friends in February, featuring the wonderful delights of Bryce from Shelf Centered. Just had a phenomenal time chatting with Bryce about anything and everything. And I have 2 coming up in the month of March. So the next episode of Chasm Friends, I am having Drew from Drew's Book Reviews. I will be posting stuff on my social media about it here shortly, but I want you to know that is happening this coming weekend. So stick around for it. Set your calendars for March 6th. The second one is going to be around the end of March. I believe it's March 26th is the date we picked, but I will post more about it on my social media, so stick around. But the second Chasm Friends episode in March is going to feature none other than Dr. Fantasy himself, Dr. Philip Chase. I am so excited to have Philip on the channel. I knew him way back when he was just starting his channel, and now he's just exploded all over YouTube. And I can't wait to talk with him, and I have no doubt that I am going to have an amazing time talking to these 2 gentlemen in March. So Drew's Book Reviews this coming weekend, and Dr. Philip Chase close to the end of March. So you will hear more about Drew in the next few days, and I will give more information on my talk with Philip as the weeks progress here. So stay tuned to my channel. Don't miss out. And guys, make sure that you are reading more books. I'll talk to you soon.